Hey guys, my name's Steph, I'm Botanist Cool, and I'm here today to talk about the Blades of Chaos from God of War. Welcome back for another episode of Quest Helper. I'm hoping you guys enjoyed the last one because I have plenty more coming and it's going to be a lot of fun. For those of you who don't know, Quest Helper is a series all about showing the positivity, the creativity, and the fun you can have with D&D, and in today's case, putting other fictional items into the D&D world for you to use as a player. This idea comes from one of our community members, American Taco, who wants to see what the Blades of Chaos could look like in Dungeons & Dragons. Now, I'm going to do two things for you guys. First and foremost, I'm going to give you a usable weapon that your DM is probably going to be like, yeah, you know what? You could have that, no big deal. And then I'm going to tell you how to build a character a little bit to be more like Kratos and have those really cool boons and extra damages like fire and all that stuff. But at the end, I'm going to give you what you wanted for, and that one weapon the DM will never let you have ever in any game. So we'll go from the good and legal and likely usable to the gods know you're never going to get this weapon in any game, or if you do, it's going to be like a mythic weapon at the very end of the campaign. So I hope you're excited for that. So to homebrew this weapon, I made sure to think about the most distinctive features of this weapon. And when we're taking a look at the Blades of Chaos, it's specifically the blades that are given to Kratos by Ares, not the ones given to Athena in God of War 2 or 3, and not the ones taken from Hades, or not the ones taken from Hephaestus, I believe. We're just looking at the ones given directly from Ares to Kratos. And the two distinctive features that I immediately noticed are, one, the chain that wraps around Kratos' arms, and two, the fact that the blades return. And it doesn't always look like Kratos is pulling back the blades with his strength. It looks like they actually magically return to him and have a long chain that is attached to them that allows him to kind of do some finagling. And that's what I decided to focus on primarily, especially for the legal weapon, in which you can use in a lot of D&D campaigns and your DM's not gonna get on your butt about. This is the short sword of returning. Now, very simply put, you throw the weapon as an attack, you do damage, and it returns back to you. Bada bing, bada boom. Nice and easy, right? In fact, this is a very legal weapon. There are infusions alchemists use that are infusions of returning, and there are some other +3 weapons in lore that can actually have a very similar property. But I decided to keep this one nice and simple. It only has a 30-foot range because you're not focusing on range. It's just an added benefit, right? And it is a magical weapon, so it's 1d6 plus 1 slashing or piercing damage, depending on what you choose at the time, and depending on whether or not the DM actually wants you to focus on what kind of damage you're dealing. Now, the sword itself does not automatically have a chain. The sword itself is the magic part, but it does have a little hinge on the bottom. That way, in case you want to add a chain or add a rope, you can do so with relative ease. There's two reasons why I'm doing that. One, having a magical chain there is a little too much in my personal opinion. I think having a normal chain there allows the DM to really push the player with this weapon into a situation where their chain is actually under threat. If you're trying to climb up the chain, but there's a creature that's able to destroy or break or harm that chain in any way, shape, and or form, you're less likely to abuse it, but think more strategically with it. Do you want to climb across like a ravine or a pathway that's split open? You could definitely use this if you're properly allocating your resources, if there's no enemies around, and if you've dispatched major threats. The chain itself is not magical, therefore it is significantly more vulnerable to being messed around with. Spells, attacks, etc. The sword itself will always return whenever you want to call for it. Boom, come back, it's back in your hand. After you attack, it returns back to you as well. And if your DM's chill, they're going to let you finagle around with it a little bit, allow you to use it for recreational items such as climbing trees and stuff like that. So this sword has a myriad of uses already, and I think it's a very useful item, not just a very powerful item. In fact, I wouldn't say it's extremely powerful. I would say it's more useful than anything else. And if you want to go the full Kratos route, you can try to find a second one. That way you get to go flop, flop, and catch them both in and do some really cool stuff with that. Now, this isn't exactly the really cool Blades of Chaos you're thinking about, because you're thinking about fire damage and all these crazy actions of God, right? And we're going to get into that right now, and I'm going to tell you how to build your player character to complement these weapons and turn yourself as close as possible into Kratos. So how exactly are we building Kratos for this weapon? That's really going to be up to you in the end. Here's how I would personally recommend it. First and foremost, we're going to dual class this character. This character is going to be dual classed into Barbarian and Paladin. It's a little bit of a weird mix, but trust me on this, right? In my personal opinion, I would go a few levels in Path of Berserker or Path of the Zealot Barbarian. These are two great paths that you can use. Path of the Zealot allows you to get radiant damage to be done for your attacks, and you can kind of flavor that as the swords doing damage from the gods onto your enemies. Path of the Berserker is going to really exemplify Kratos' Spartan strength and rage, that he doesn't get scared, that he just goes forward and attacks and does just massive amount of damage as a Spartan. So that's going to be up to you if you want to emphasize the whole godly, divine power of Ares versus the raw power of a Spartan, right? Now, when it comes to Paladin, you're going to want to go either Oath of Vengeance, which is obviously something very true to Kratos' character. He wants vengeance on the gods for not letting him get out of his torments of him killing his family, right? So that's an oath that you could definitely use. Or the Oath of Glory. I would say that both of these oaths are actually really good for flavoring Kratos, but the oaths itself aren't as important as the fact that you now get smites as a paladin. These smites could definitely flavor all your attacks with your magical weapons. If you want to do a smite that does fire damage or radiant damage, there's a lot of options. And not only that, you're going to get a lot more spell slots from the paladin side that you can use to just flavor up your attacks. So I would personally take 10 and 10. Maybe the first 3 levels in Barbarian, then the next 3 levels in Paladin, and then just kind of go one off. But it's really up to you how you want to go with it. If you really want to flavor it, I'm going to suggest going Barbarian first, because a lot of those things just match thematically more of Kratos, but it's really up to you. Those are just my options, and those are just my opinions. Path of Berserker, Path of the Zealot, either of those work great for the levels in Barbarian for Kratos, and the Oath of Vengeance or the Oath of Glory for those Paladin moments. And it also allows you to choose whether or not you want to have a build that is more like Kratos without the armor or with armor or whatever. There's a lot of options there that you could really have a lot of fun with a Berserker Paladin mix. So don't be shy to look at these 4 options and then say, let me look at more options. You have free reign over it, and I highly recommend taking a look around, seeing what you can find out, and seeing what you can do to just have fun with it. Always talk to your DM and say, I want to make a character like this, and here's my plan. Is this okay? And your DM's going to go, yeah, you know what? I like it. So let's do it. So always talk to your DM. Rule number 1 about any D&D, always talk to DM and, of course, your players. We build upon the short sword of returning to make it aesthetically like Kratos' Blades of Chaos. You can attach a chain to them, you can throw them, they can come back, and you're all good. We've talked about having a Barbarian Paladin build to use smites and to use rage to really get that Kratos-like feel and have a lot of fun with it. I highly recommend those paths if you want to make a Kratos-like character. But we're not here for that, at least not that alone. We are also here to talk about a broken set of weapons called the Blades of Chaos. Now, I added a few things to these weapons to make them stronger. They are a +3 magical weapon, which means that they get a +3 to attack and a +3 to damage. That's a lot of bonuses off the bat. Not many weapons go above that. In fact, I've never really used a weapon that's gone above that. I've never had to. It's wild. That being said, the damage is even wilder. 1d6 piercing or slashing, and 2d6 fire plus the +3 enchantment at max per hit 21 damage. That's a lot, and not including your strength modifier. And if you're going that full Kratos build, you're going to have that +5 to strength not too far down the road. It's going to be pretty quick. You're going to be doing a lot of damage very, very, very quickly. And it's not including any smites or rage bonuses or anything like that. This is going to be a lot of power in one hit, and a lot of power in multiple hits as you get extra attacks from your class bonuses. It's going to be ridiculous. And it has a range of 60 feet. Of course, with a range attack, you have to use dexterity, but as long as your dexterity is not in the negatives, you'll be fine, right? That being said, I added one caveat the DM can use to really make a story out of it, or at least make sure the player doesn't go too crazy. And that is the fact that these weapons are cursed in the way that Kratos's Blades of Chaos are cursed. You are beholden to the god who gives you these weapons, whether it be Ares or whether it be a god of the DM's own creation that is basically to replace Ares. You are beholden to them. They have given you these powerful weapons, and you must now listen to them. You must do their whims in any way, shape, and or form. So this could take a lot of very interesting approaches. Do you have a god of war that simply wants bloodshed and destruction? Then just maybe a chaotic barbarian or a paladin who really goes into following these rules and regulations of their god of being bloodthirsty and glory of war and fight all fights that you can really just go crazy. But is your god of war more lawful or protective of something? Does your god of war only apply to one region? And as such, if you attack that region, that god of war will really dislike you for whatever reason. Maybe that you attack these people, it's going to be very, very mad at you, and it's going to want to smite you. There's a lot of ways to go about this. The god of war could be more of a honor god, where they want you to fight honorably, and doing dirty tactics like sneaking around is actually going to make them mad at you. Or if they are a god that just wants violence, and just attack in any way, shape, and or form. Your DM can make a lot of fun ways to make these Blades of Chaos unique to you, and at the same time unique to the god of that world. If they just want to go classic Ares, go for it, go war, do my bidding, and take over XYZ cities, that's fine. Very valid. But if they want to make it so that you're kind of beholden to a region that god rules over, they might try to use these objects as a way to control your player. And here's the thing, a good DM is never going to make it so that the objects are the sole thing controlling you. They're going to make it so that you have an option to, or the ability to, maybe even rebel against a god, fight against a god, and maybe even win against the god and take their place as the god of war, like in God of War. Or maybe find a way to take the curse off, or find ways to talk to other gods to take the curses off, or whatever. There's a lot of ways you could go around this and have a lot of fun with these Blades of Chaos. They are extremely powerful for a 5e weapon, and they can provide a lot to the story. So it's really up to you and your DM to talk things out. Talking with your DM is going to give you guys a really good way of just understanding what you want. And heck, the DM could even say, hey, we're going to start you off with the Swords of Returning, and then maybe at level 10, if you earn the gods' favors, they will reward you with the Blade of Chaos. And maybe they'll go, but if you earn the favors by then, they're not going to give you the curse. They're just yours to have. You know, go crazy, have fun. Who knows? This is all about communication. It's all about talking about it, and this is all about having fun with these weapons. Once again, they have a lot of utility because of that chain, and on this guy, the chain's magical. It's harder to destroy. And overall, it's just for fun. And if you guys think that's fun, then I'm happy, and I did my job here presenting these two ridiculous weapons to you for a lot of fun. And once again, guys, thank you for joining with me on Quest Helper. That's the end of this video, and if you guys want, make sure to leave a subscription and a like. We're going to have a lot of fun in the future with more of these kind of videos. The weapon cards are in the description down below. They're on a Google Doc. Please feel free to use them. Have fun with them. They are there for your enjoyment. And of course, go crazy. If you want to see some things in the future, leave a comment down below. And of course, tell me what you think about this. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Will you try to use them? And if you do use them, how'd it go? I cannot wait to hear from you guys. Anyways, y'all stay safe, stay Botanist Cool, and I'll see you next Friday for another Quest Helper. Bye, everyone.